I'm really so delighted to be here on this specific day of celebrating women's equality. And, you know, it's the 98th year that we've been allowed to vote. And so I hope there's going to be a big celebration around 100 years. I don't know what it's going to be, but I hope that we all stay in touch so that we can celebrate together, because I think the more we can do to raise awareness about that is important. So I'm going to start with a poem, and this is from a poet that many of you probably know, Rumi, though I don't actually know if Rumi was a feminist, to be honest. I don't know that. But I thought that this very short poem really is about what today should be. So, you were born with potential. You were born with goodness and trust. You were born with ideals and dreams. You were born with greatness. You were born with wings. You are not meant for crawling, so don't. You have wings. Learn to use them and fly. So that's perfect for today, right? Because today is really about flying, not only for today, but the future. So, you know, this is the celebration of women having the right to vote, and about voting itself. And we heard from our former First Lady, who's always going to be my First Lady, that the importance of it. And I just want us to understand, you know, so often here in America, you know, quite honestly, we kind of think we're better than the rest of the world. You know, we have our act together. And, you know, voting is one of the most, when we talk about civic engagement, one of the most important things you can do to be civically engaged is to vote. And it must really be so important because all over the world, they're trying to take people's right to vote away, you know, for different reasons and different people, but it's all over the world. And actually here in America, there's a lot of voter suppression that goes on, you know, so it's important, it's a right. And I just want us to realize, so in 2018, 8 states so far have introduced at least 16 bills making it harder to vote. And from the last legislative year, where, you know, they hadn't yet finished their work, there's 35 additional restrictive bills that are still up for consideration. So this is, you know, states saying, okay, we don't want our citizens to vote. For all different reasons, whether it's because you think they're going to vote against you or you think that they're not going to support the thing you want, but they are trying to take away people's rights to vote. And they do it by making the, you know, what you have to maybe bring to the polls, they make that harder, the amount of time it takes for you to register, the closing of polls, maybe not having as many polls around, so they have all different ways of doing it. So I just say that because civic engagement, one of the easiest things in a way is to vote, and it's very easy for people to take the right away. But I don't want to be a total downer, so I do want to let you know that in 22 states for 2018, there's at least 144 bills to make it better. And actually from the last legislative session, there's 263 bills. So hopefully that's going to overcome it. And the way to make it easier is, you know, not to make the ID so restrictive, to make it so maybe you could vote on the same day. Some states do it where actually everyone does an absentee ballot and many more people participate. I'm hoping someday soon they let us vote on our iPhone. I mean, my goodness, we do everything else on that iPhone. I can't believe we can't vote from it, you know. So with that said, there is certainly some hope. So today I wanted to just talk a little bit about civic engagement, because really that is what we're here for, civic engagement and advocacy. And I always find it's helpful sometimes. You know, it's like we talk, oh, we should be engaged, you know, civic engagement. What does it actually mean? So I made sure that I knew, because I thought it's the least I could do if I'm here talking. So what it means is promoting the quality of life in a community through both political and non-political processes. That's like, how easy is that, right? It's not, because a lot of people are not civically engaged. Just the fact that you're here, I'm going to take a leap of faith and assume that you are all civically engaged. But I think it's so important that you own that, that you own that civic engagement, and that is why I number my pages. So I think it's so important that you really do own that civic engagement. So civic engagement shows up many ways. A, volunteering with the organization, that's a way of being civically engaged. Voting, of course, as we've already said, is a way of being civically engaged. Being involved in nonprofits. Maybe you're involved in a nonprofit that's fighting human trafficking. That's a way of being civically engaged. And then, of course, we have the political ways of being civically engaged, whether it's writing a letter to your Congress member, your local school board person. That's it. Some people want to be a little bit more passive, so they just have a big button on that says, I support women's rights. Well, you know what? They're being civically engaged by that, and we should respect them that that's the way that they're doing it. I think it's so important that we find what is the way you want to be civically engaged. What's a comfortable way for you to do it? And then what's that one thing you can do to push yourself just a little bit beyond your comfort level? Because flying isn't easy. But once you're soaring, right? You've got the wind with you. So think about what it is for you that is going to be easy, and definitely do that. But think about what's going to be just a little harder, and put yourself out. And for many people, you know what's harder? Is talking to another person about the issues you care about. You would think it isn't, but it is. Especially sometimes when they might not agree with you. And so that's, I think, where we need to be, is to really think about who can you be speaking with about the issues that you care about, so that we are getting more people civically engaged, and we're also educating people. So think about that a little bit as we go through that. Now, I have to say, civic engagement in 2018, it feels different than it did, like in 2015. Something happened in 2016. Gee, what was it? But something happened that I think awakened a lot of people about the need to be engaged civically, though they might not have all called it that. And, we can have a lot of discussion about our feelings about the election of 2016. I'm not going to do that now, but I think you'll probably figure out where I stand on that election. But one thing that election did is it woke a lot of people up. And it woke up some people, not for reasons I particularly wanted them to wake up, but it woke up a lot of people. And, we have more people engaged, or at least saying they're going to be engaged. And frankly, I think these midterm elections, we're going to actually see who was serious and who wasn't, because I know even in the primaries, we did not have the voter turnout that we wanted, on both sides a little bit. So it's going to show. But with that said, people are more engaged than ever. I mean, people are marching. People are starting organizations, on all sides. Nonprofits that are involved in some of the issues that we're hearing about, they're making more money than ever. The NRA has huge amounts of donations coming into it, as does the ACLU and Planned Parenthood. So people are awake. And, I think today we had to, as we learned of the death of Senator McCain, we had to take a step back and really recognize, if we didn't know already, just how partisan and how opinionated and how much animosity there is between different opinions. And though I might not always have agreed with Senator McCain in his policies, he certainly always, went to the other side of the aisle, as they say, and the other side of the aisle came to him to try to forge in a cooperative way and agree to disagree and have some big discussions, but agree to disagree to move it forward. We don't see that now. Now, I know that it's been bad in Congress before, right? I'm not a huge historian, but I've read the books. And, in the 1800s, they used to bring guns onto the floor, and they used to threaten each other, they punched each other, etc. Well, you know what? Believe it or not, I was not born in the 1800s, so I never got to witness that. And I would say, even though certainly in my lifetime I have witnessed partisanship, I cannot say I've ever seen it like this. And I cannot say that I have ever seen the populace so vocal about how they believe. And sometimes I don't like it, but sometimes I have to say, I think it's good that this sleeping dog, or whoever they say slept, got woken, because it's really important we understand how people are feeling. You know, even if it's uncomfortable, you know, to be honest, it's so uncomfortable to understand the deep racism that is in this country. It is so uncomfortable to understand and see people just not liking people because they look different, they have an accent, they come from some other place. That is, it's so uncomfortable. But you know what? We can never address issues if we don't know about them and if we don't acknowledge them. So out of bad, I always like to think eventually out of something bad, something good happens. And I'm not quite sure where that good is yet, but I think we are on our road because, again, more and more people are coming out and being active. And more governments are doing different things. You know, Los Angeles County, they established shortly after the election, and in truth, it wasn't it wasn't because of the election. They were really looking at how they can improve the lives of women and girls. But I know that it was important that in this time, when possibly from Washington, D.C., many policies could come here into Los Angeles County that will impact the ability of women and girls to thrive, that it's critical that we have this. I also know, being here in Los Angeles County and actually being in California, is important that we quadruple our activism. And you know why I say that? Because often they say, as California goes, so goes the nation. And we want the nation to go in a way that California goes, because right now in California, we actually have really strong laws that protect a woman's right to get an abortion, really strong laws that make sure women have access to the health care they need, really strong laws about equal pay. In fact, they just passed a law about the fact that you cannot, when you're going for a job, someone cannot ask you what your salary was before. And you know why that's so important for women? Because most of the time we make less than men. So if you say an amount, then they're only going to offer you a little bit more than that amount. And chances are they should have offered you a lot more than that amount. So in California, we have some good laws. So we'd like the rest of the country to go that way. But at this time, right now, it's really important that we continue this activism, that we really identify what is needed to make sure that women and girls thrive. Which brings me to advocacy. So advocacy, and is someone keeping track of my time? Okay, good. Thank you. Did I go on and on? No. So advocacy is really important. So you do civic engagement, you get involved, you talk to your friends, you vote, you write letters, you work in a nonprofit, you know, you go door to door, you do what you need to do to make your community better. Advocacy is really about taking a stand on an issue and educating about it, okay? And that is really, really important, especially when there are laws being proposed at your school board, at your planning commission, at your city council. A lot of stuff happens locally, you know, that we need to pay attention to. We're focused on Congress, and yes, we need to be focused for some reasons, but in every community that you live in, there is, whether it be big Los Angeles or small Santa Monica, no offense, Santa Monica, you're not that small, or Long Beach or Beverly Hills or West Hollywood or Pasadena or wherever, city councils, school boards, pay attention because stuff is happening there. And advocacy is about talking to those elected people, talking to those appointed people, and educating them about why you support or don't support an issue. Now, I want to really make sure that that you do fly. And so I want to talk just a little bit more about advocacy. So our voice, and you said it so perfectly, you know, when one, there's change, but when there's many, there's transformation. So first, I don't want anyone in this room to underestimate the power of their one voice, because one voice is important. But when you can amplify that voice and have many more voices with you, it makes a different kind of impact. So I want to talk to all of you just a little bit about how you do that and about how you create your network. So when you are advocating and wanting to make change, you're ready. So first, you belong to ICW. You already have a network. All these people in this room, maybe some of you are guests, all these people in your room can be part of your network. Always build your network. Always think about building your base. Always think about the people you know who believe in what you believe and write their names down. We have this thing called technology, and get that constant contact going and make sure you are keeping track of the people that you know who believe in what you believe, because they are the people that you can call out. And now, you know, to be honest, advocacy is still hard, but it's a lot easier than it was 10 years ago. It's a lot easier than it was when those women were traipsing up and down in covered wagons trying to get the vote. You know, social media, it does have its benefits. And so think about that. The other thing is, think about who your allies are. You've already identified some. You had the Center for Reproductive Rights. There's other organizations who believe in what you believe. Think about who they are, reach out to them, but also be willing to help them when they need something. We all remember, oh, you showed up for me, that was so nice. So when you ask me to show up for you, I'm going to feel like I want to do it. So remember that. It works both ways. You think it's simple, but you're going to forget because you're going to be busy and you're not going to want to go, but you have to do that. The other thing is that that when people ask you, or when someone says, you know, please write a letter, or will you do this, think of the word yes before you think of the word no. I could end right there. The other thing is to share leadership, because each of you is a leader. Start to own that leadership. You know, we all have this idea of what leaders are, and everybody's a leader. By making a decision in your head, you are a leader. But share that leadership. Make sure the person next to you knows that they are a leader. And also, even in this organization, you know, as great as your president might be, you need to know that there's other people that could come up and step in. So always share leadership. And the last thing I want to leave you with, which is really important, is take ownership of the win and accept the fact that you made it happen. And I say that specifically, I see there are some men in the room, so thank you so much. Women often don't want to say and take responsibility and ownership of the win. Okay, good. Yep. Nope. Oh, no, it wasn't me. Oh, he did. Oh, no, she did everything. No. Who calls all those people? Me. So really do that. It's okay to be the one that made it happen. That doesn't mean you're taking it away from anybody else, but you own it. Own your power. Own the difference that you can make. Remember, you don't want to crawl. You want to fly. Thank you so much for having me today.